Welcome to another edition of Story Behind the Music. I'm Darren Story, and we are continuing our chronicling of Mi-Ling Stone Poole's journey as she is writing an amazing book and her life in Minneapolis, and also being the Little Red Corvette. And one of the people that she grew up with is joining me right now from Los Angeles. You probably know him as TC Ellis, but his friends know him as David. David, TC Ellis on the line with us. David, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's up?
What's going on,
Hi,
man?
David.
Hi, Mi-Ling.
And of course, we have Mi-Ling on the line as well. So, David, real quick,
What's going
man.
on? Where you at?
I'm in Kansas City.
Where you guys at?
I'm in Kansas City.
Okay.
And Mi-Ling's
I'm in
Where
Oklahoma.
you at? All right.
Yeah, so we got to get you to Kansas City, man. We got to get one of those schools here in Kansas City, by the way. Just a side note.
Yes, we do. Yep.
So, David, first of all, first question, tell the audience out there just how long you go back with Mi-Ling. How far you go back?
Oh, wow. That must be, is it 50 years? Something like that?
Wow.
No. 40, 45, something.
We were 12. I was 12
Yeah,
or 13.
40, 45 years, long time ago.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Once upon a time.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah,
David,
once upon a time, right.
so you've known her for 45 years thereabouts. She was 12. What are some of your memories of young Mi-Ling in the neighborhood? Tell us about that person growing up.
Mi-Ling was kind of a beautiful spirit in that, when I seen her, she was just bright and talkative and articulate, and you could just tell she came from a good family.
That's cool. And David, as far as your relationship with her, I mean, how did you guys meet? Tell me about that. Where'd you meet?
I recall, it's kind of hard to remember, but the most memorable thing that I can recall meeting her is when I was riding my mini bike in her neighborhood. 'Cause she lived in a black enclave that was outside of the inner city area, and it was black folks that were kind of middle class, well to do, and so we would. The kids from the city, we would take our mini bikes out there and ride in that neighborhood because the police were less likely to bother you. So that was the advantage of going over there, and that's where Mi-Ling lived. And so, when I laid eyes on her, everything was like, whoa, man, she's fine,
and
At
Mi-Ling,
12, 13, Darren. See?
yeah. And Mi-Ling, what did you think of David when you met him?
David was absolutely crazy. He was like, I called him Evil Knievel, but, they called him David Knievel or something. But he was riding mini bikes and then motorcycles and doing wheelies and popping stuff and just crazy loud and, boisterous. Hey, Mi-Ling! When David calls me Mi-Ling, I know exactly who it is. I could be anywhere. Mi-Ling! I was just that raspy kind of rap voice that he has. So, yeah, he was a lot of fun. He was young and, afro. Yeah, a little afro. And
Most of us did.
Yeah, I just wanted to ride mini bikes. He taught me how to ride mini bikes and motorcycles.
Wow.
Yeah.
God bless you. I ain't getting on none of those things. We're on with David TC Ellis here on Story Behind the Music, along with Mi-Ling Stone Poole, the Little Red Corvette. So, David, obviously you and Mi-Ling have someone in common, the icon Prince. And, David, your relationship with Prince goes way back as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I go back a lot again. Memory with Prince goes way back, even before I originally recall. One time I was talking to Dan Jones, and he was asking me how long did I know Prince and stuff, and I was kind of puzzled as to exactly when I had met Prince. And Prince is cousin Chantel, who used to babysit for Prince and Chaz and all those guys, she Prince over to St. Paul with her, and she reminded me that that's when I knew Prince, because he was with her, and they would come and visit at her brother's grandmother's house, Darnell White. He was a kid that grew up in Minneapolis, in St. Paul. Prince's mother's twin sister. And so that was the connection in the community where, Prince from the St. Paul with Shantae, his older cousin, who was kind of like the babysitter, and that's where she tells me is the first time I met Prince. But the first memorable time that I can remember meeting Prince was over North Minneapolis, over by Will's Super Value.
See, that's dope. And so, and see, the thing is, David, is that one of the things that there's a disconnect is that, there are a lot of people, and of course you remember we lived in Minneapolis for several years, and we don't realize that there was a Prince before, 1999 in Purple Rain. There was this local kid that ran around with you and Mi-Ling and all of that. So you're helping to chronicle some serious history, especially when you talk about the grocery store that you first met him at. That's dope. I mean, who knows that? That's not in any book anywhere. So I appreciate that.
Right.
I appreciate that background. When did you know when did you find out that Mi-Ling and Prince had connected in some way?
Well, it was just, common knowledge in the neighborhood. I think they were dating and flirting around and, doing things. And I see them at the club sometimes dancing or something like that. And, everybody knew Prince. Everybody knew Mi-Ling. It was just, it was our community, our neighborhood, the Twin Cities, in effect.
It was a very small community when you think about it. I learned that from living there, that once you kind of got into a certain group of people, then it just kind of domino effect. And everybody, it doesn't take long before you to know everybody in that community. So Mi-Ling, tell me about David. Once in the clubs, was David breaking it down too in the clubs? I mean, did he get down as well?
David wasn't dancing that much that I can remember. David, you weren't a big dancer, were you? He was mostly on the side, sitting in the bar, watching people.
Chilling.
One thing that David did was he taught me how to play congos because he played drums. And when we were younger, he turned me on to Tower Power, all the bad music that I would have never probably, And I loved the congos, so I was playing congos in his basement.
Nice.
And then, of course, Sue Ann was his sister, so she lived there. And then Prince and her started working on a project. So, we were all in this little circle of people. And I wouldn't say that everybody was in that circle, because there was, Tony Walker, who was my organ teacher. His father had the Walker, music school. And he, has played with everyone from Lettucey on over. Tony was part of that circle. Andre and Pierre Lewis, mostly Andre for me, Lewis, and David and Sue Ann and Jimmy and Terry and Prince and Andre and Gary Hines. That was kind of, David's circle was much bigger than mine, but that was my circle of people that I knew.
Absolutely.
I didn't know Jam and Lewis well, but they knew who I was. Right.
Well, from these interviews, obviously, and TC said it best, everybody knew who you were, Mi-Ling.
See, they did. Yeah, that's what Gary was saying. Apparently, they did. David knew I was a fancy dancer, and I never knew that. But, so David, tell him about what happened when the story before you got signed. When you were working with Miko.
Which one?
He's got lots. He's got a million of them.
The one where you did the Batman, the Bat Dance.
Yeah, well, Miko Weaver, who was Prince's guitar player, he had came from the Bay Area, and he originally was playing with Sheila E. And so Sheila E. was stomped down. She was getting in Prince's ass, And so anyway, she ended up playing the drums for Prince, and Prince took Levi and Miko, and put them in his band, and then Tony was with him. He sent them back to the Bay, and so they became Tony, Born Not to Know. I don't know if you ever listened to that song.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going crazy. I ain't wearing paisley. So anyway, that was part of that story. And Miko was helping me, with my production for my music, for my rap thing, right? And so he was telling me I should talk to Prince and all that, and I was like, yeah, I've been talking to him, but he ain't listening, He said, man, confront him. And I had told Miko a story about when I had took up for Prince back in the day. And he said, remind him of that shit. And I was like, nah, man, I ain't like that. He was like, man, I'm telling you, I work with this cat every day. Bring that shit up. Talk shit. Right? And so I went to the Pacific Club, and out of the blue, Prince calls me over. He said, TC, man, come here. I got to talk to you, And I came over. I said, what's up? He said, you got to quit coming up to me every time you see me out talking about that rap shit. And I was like, why? He said, because I'm going to have Gilbert or Hucky do something to you. And I said, do something like what? And so he said, like break your legs or something. So I said, man, I said, Prince, Gilbert will break his porch door down trying to get in the house. All I got to do is ball up my fist. You know what I'm saying? Because I was Golden Gloves champ and stuff back in the day. So anyway, that's when I pulled my card on Prince. I said, so Prince, I said, remember when you was about to get your ass kicked at the Fox Trap before you had all these bodyguards and shit? Who was taking up for you then? And so then I said, because he was about to get, dealt with. And so I had took up for him. And he said, oh, what? How much do I owe you? And so he started like he was fake, pretending like he was going in his pocket. And I said, you don't owe me nothing. Just open up the door. I can get it myself, right?
Nice.
And so then he told me, he said, well, that was then, and this is now. And he did this little walk. He strutted off, right? so I was like pissed. I was like, we were both, shucking and playing with each other, right?
Right.
So I was like, oh, okay. So, but at that time, I was already working on the bat rap with Miko, and so I hurried up. I finished that song and I put it out. And so then Prince's brother Dwayne hollered at me one time. He said, TC, man, Warner Brothers is like snooping around looking for you because they want to know who did that record. And they asked Prince, and he said he didn't have nothing to do with it. And they want to know, how do you know everything that's in the movie? But Miko had been feeding me the information on the movie from the daily while they were composing music for the movie. So I wrote the rap about the Batman that is the one in black, like a bat out of hell. He will reveal, screaming down the road in the Batmobile, heading for the crime only to find nothing but a riddle. You know a rhyme. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick. So anyway, I spit that and I put it out before the movie came out. So that's later on, after that happened, Prince called me up on the phone and he was like, hey, T, man, come out here, bring your music out here to Paisley. We're going to do something.
Nice.
But wasn't that after, David, you told me that after they were backing you, bat rap and bat dance together, and they were saying, who's the real Batman, who's the real...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was KMOJ. They would play Bat Dance, and they would play my song, the Bat Rap, and they said, who's the real Batman? They was teasing Prince or what.
Well,
I bet that was Q Bear putting out.
Might have been Q Bear.
Yeah, it definitely was. I know Q Bear was the first person to play my original Twin Cities rap.
Right.
Q Bear was the DJ who did that. And, he's been a friend, lifelong friend.
Absolutely.
And so basically Prince called him out. But before that, David said he saw him at a club. This is my memory, with Sheila E.